Welcome to From Drift to Direction, the podcast where real life turns into clarity, confidence, and action. Here is the truth: we all experience moments of drift, then something shifts, and that's when we find direction. And what's exactly that this show is about? Today's episode is powerful. My guest has faced things most people wouldn't survive: multiple deaths, near death experiences, 73 surgeries, and paralysis. And yet, he's still building, still pushing, still believing. This is not just a story about survival. This is a story about mindset, faith, and never quitting. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hey, Patar, good to be here, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to start here before the mindset, before the strength. Take me back to the moments where life felt uncertain and where things were drifting.
I don't know that I ever felt like I was truly drifting. I was raised on a working farm, and because of the seasons changing from snow in the winter and hot in the summer and the crops growing and a lot of livestock growing and getting bigger and going to market, there was always change going on. So it wasn't like let's just suppose living in the middle of Florida where it doesn't get really cold and it stays kind of hot and humid and it's you kind of have the same thing all year, kind of like in Central Texas. Um, it'll change some, but not dramatically, where it's 35 below zero and or 100 degrees. And so I always felt like I had a sense of responsibility, a sense of things that we're doing. And since the seasons change so much and you've always got something going and looking for, um, and it was my parents were very good parents and I got brought up good. So, and I was always working. I mean, all through high school, I worked nights till 12:30. Well, from a sophomore on. So I know when I get out of high school, if I had any drift time, it would be between when I graduated and when I went in the Marine Corps.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like, because when I enlisted in the Marine Corps, I couldn't get in right away. They were calling for a lot, but I had a situation with my grandfather having had a heart attack, and I got put on for about a 6 month delay. And that 6 months, I was waiting for this to happen over here, coming from being busy, and I'd already quit
Right.
quit the job. And so for probably for 5 or 6 months, I stayed busy, but I had no direction,
Okay.
I guess is a good way to put it.
Right.
But after that, after getting in the Marine Corps, I mean, that gives you direction, period. It doesn't
Right.
matter. But the way I was raised was, um, our parents raised us children. I had two sisters and a brother, and we were really raised not to get out of the house, Patar, but more, that when we left home, we were responsible and understood the ramifications and what you needed to do in life, whether you were going to be an entrepreneur or move it forward or do whatever. But of course, now that's in the mid '60s too, mid 67. I got out of high school, but and things were a little different. Now it's so fast and there's so much more to do,
Right.
and you're aware of more because of social media and all the stuff that's out there, where we didn't have that. I mean, if you were raised on a farm in a small town in the middle of a cornfield, there, you had to find something to do. But so
Right.
I don't feel at any point, because I was always aggressive. I was always trying to move forward with something.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are drifting without knowing that they're drifting.
Hmm.
I feel like your story is pretty amazing. You know, I can say 73 surgeries, paralysis, and near-death
Yeah.
experience. Have you ever felt during that time that you were drifting, that you feel stuck, that you feel like, powerless?
I didn't really. I guess powerless from the sense that, like, I spent a year in the Naval Hospital when I was in the Marine Corps from dying, and when they got me back, and I spent 8 months 8.5 months in traction in a bed, but I was working on my third degree burns and trimming them up myself. So I always, my grandmother had a little saying that said, busy hands, busy mind. So
Right.
if you're working on something, you're thinking about something. So, I took my own blood pressure. I gave myself my own shots. I cut the dead skin off my own burns. I always stayed busy doing something
Right.
and looking with a vision towards the future. And
Okay.
I know that there's an old saying too, Patar, that it says, uh, sweat dries, blood clots, and broken bones heal. So suck it up.
Right.
It's just going to take time. And when you look at that, after I got out of my comas and the concern with me staying alive was gone, I mean, in other words, I was going to stay alive, then it's just a matter of taking the time and knowing things heal slowly. If you break your leg right now and it's a compound fracture in your femur, it's going to be harder and longer than if you just broke it. But
Right.
in a year from now, you can go back jogging or
Right.
walking or with a leg brace if you need. But so I really don't think so. I think that I always kept the mindset at 76 years old now. I'm already planning what I want to do when I'm 80 and 85 and 90.
Wow.
So I'm looking ahead to try doing it. But I agree. I look back at some of the folks that I knew from my hometown, and they're still in my hometown, and they
Yeah.
worked for, say, the street department for 40 years,
Right.
and they retired with a gold watch, and they're still living in the same house that they, and now to them that's success. They're fine.
Right.
They're happy.
Yeah.
But but to me personally, and it's not to down them at all or their goals, they did just kind of drift along. They didn't move and do other things, but that's not
Right.
everybody.
Right.
Not everybody's an Elon Musk coming
Yeah.
up with all the different companies he does.
Exactly.
And uh, so there's a difference in there.
I mean, if you think about it, that's a lot of surgeries, right? You've gone through a lot during
Oh,
that time.
yes, sir.
So
Yes,
you were
sir.
recovering for a year, what you're saying, and I feel like what you're saying, I mean, the recipe is that keeping your mind busy didn't allow you to get, depressed or start thinking negative or start, trying to. I mean, there are many people that they'll probably end their lives, if
Yeah.
they're in that situation because people are in a different level. But I feel like that's a great point that keeping your mind busy and kind of thinking about the future because you're planning the next 10 years. You're moving
Right. Right.
forward and you're thinking towards direction of the future, which not many people are. I mean, people sometimes if they're stuck in their own ways and they're just day by day.
Right. Right. And to jump on something where you were talking about, like in the Marine Corps, in the Naval Hospital, in the Marine Corps. I mean, I've spent between all my surgeries, my rehab for my broken neck, and dying from the drowning. I've spent almost 4 years in hospitals.
Wow.
Almost 4 years of my life in hospitals. You've moved around the world and not
Right.
spent 4 years in a city on the halfway across the world. It's like so. In between that, it gives you plenty of time to think. And then I started several different businesses, and I worked a corporate life that we traveled 9 months out of the year. But I've started 11 or 12 companies, and some of them have done, I never had one that did bad. Some weren't as much as I wanted, but two or three of, well, four of them went really good.
Right.
So I don't have anything to complain about. But to your point, I was always active, and maybe it's
Right.
my ADHD, or and ADHD can be bad, but I also had PTSD too from my head. My skull was crushed. I mean, my face was ripped off. I
Hmm.
I was in bad condition, and I used to get angry a lot, you know, but I would take that anger out on making something happen, which kept me busy. So I think that was part of what helped keep me going. And ADHD, Patar, if you harness it, you can do multiple things at one time. And so you're always busy, like, oh, I got this to do, that to do, this to do, take care of that. And I
We'll
don't
keep
have
you
time to,
going. We'll keep you
and
going
yeah,
in a way.
yes, sir. And
Awesome.
so maybe if nothing else for the people that are listening that drift is find something and it's like find a really good book and then
Right.
find a few things in it and underline it and highlight it.
Hmm.
And what did I get out of that? What can it help me do? And sometimes it doesn't hurt to go talk to somebody that's got a successful company. Maybe you're interested in starting a certain business or selling a certain product or do a certain service. Go, you can't talk to your neighbor about it. Go to
Right.
the next town or a town 100 miles away and just knock on the door and tell the gentleman, sir, I'm Patar, excuse me, my name's Jay, and I'd like to talk to you about podcasting. And you seem to be pretty successful at it. And I'm not going to infringe on your company, nor are you going to infringe on mine. Is there any things, or may I talk with you a little bit? May I ask
Right.
you some questions? And you learn that way, and pretty soon it's like, okay, I got some good ideas. So
Hmm.
that may end up ending the drift,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. I think the problem is that we as people, we tend to ask maybe our family members, maybe we ask friends. We sometimes don't ask the right people. And
Exactly.
right, we
Right.
have to go to the person who have tried it, the person who have built something, the person who is successful in what we want to do. Because when you ask your
Right.
friends, they don't
Right.
really get excited. They don't really understand what you want to do. They maybe sometimes will tell you, just don't waste your time, and you move on, and you don't start that
Or
business. You
or
don't.
they'll tell you, sure, that sounds good, and you try it and you fail at it. Well, they didn't
Right.
see, so no, yeah, I don't ask friends and family.
Yeah.
No, you ask somebody, and generally, Patar, something that you just mentioned about, the people that were successful at, people that built something, they also failed at certain things, or they stumbled, or they tripped, or they
Right.
overcame obstacles. What did they learn? Because it's not just overcoming an obstacle, it's
Yeah.
what did you have to do to overcome it and what did you learn from it.
Right.
And if they
Yeah.
can share that, it's like winning an award. I've hired a lot of people in my life, and somebody can come and tell me, oh, I won this award and that award and that. Okay, that's great, that's fine, but I don't care about the award. What
Right.
did you have to do to win the award?
Right.
What did you have to overcome? What did you have to do competitively?
Right.
Or was it customer service? Was it,
Right.
how did you rise to the occasion?
Right.
Because people that go out to just to get the award or the trophy are going to fail more
Right.
often than not. But if you're doing it to help somebody get better or sell a service good or make sure the customer is satisfied, all the other accolades and all the awards, they just come
Yeah.
along, and you don't have to search for them. They just you
Right.
won it because you did your job.
Right. Well, that people never ask you how you got the award, They never ask you how much work you put into it, what you had to do. They just see you like, oh, you're
Right.
successful now, or you've done it. But what it took you to get to that point, and many people they're not asking the right questions.
No, 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 they're not.
I wanted to ask you for the time that you were in the hospital during those 4 years of recovery. What was in your mind? Like, were you thinking about the future? Did you regret something? I mean, 4 years is a long time.
Well, it wasn't all at one time because
Right,
it's like, but I had some surgeries where I was in for a month, and then some surgeries where it's just 5, 6, 7, 10 days. Not too bad. And back in the day, I used to like to read. I would listen to. Well, they didn't have podcasts back in those days and stuff, but you reading, listening to. back in cassette tapes, back
Right.
in, before CDs and stuff, and listen to some stuff and learn stuff. And it all depends on your want to. Do you
Right.
want to get ahead? Do you want to succeed? Do you want to make something of something? And if you do, you're probably going to do it. If you lay there and now I know some people, speaking of that, that they sit and they'd watch the TV up on the wall. That's all they did. 10 hours
Right.
a day, they'd watch television. See,
Yeah.
to me, I never turn the TV on. You can take the TV out of the room. I don't care. I haven't watched TV in 15 years. I didn't watch much TV in my whole life, period.
Right.
But, and so I would say I would be brain dead if I did. But in the meantime, no, what can I do? I would think about what am I going to do now? Because, and one of the biggest things, Patar, is that I had a lot of surgeries that changed the way I could act in my life or what I could do or accomplish. When I had my brainstem surgeries, it put me on a walker. I was on leg braces and a cane for 16, 17 years. And when I had my brainstem surgeries and then more back surgeries and stuff, I mean, I got on a walker. I was on a walker for 18 years.
Wow.
And then my paralysis kept getting worse. Now I'm in a wheelchair, a power wheelchair. You can see the head of it back here. And
Mhm.
so I've had to change directions all the time throughout my life. Even when we were building homes, you know, 9 years ago, at first I could get around on my walker. I could get in a house and out of a house. But when I got in my wheelchair, because my paralysis got so much worse, and you know, uh, now I can't do that.
Right.
So how do I do it? I would do it by FaceTime or somebody walking through and or sit in a car or if I was outside looking at in my van that's got a handy a ramp for my wheelchair to go up, I would take a laser pointer if you were working on clearing that lot and I want that tree over there taken down, I want that one trimmed up over. I would take a laser pointer on with a green laser and I would hit the limbs and show them what I wanted.
Right.
I mean, I'd kind of
Wow.
be creative about it. So,
Right. I
but
mean, that's the power
yeah,
of the spirit. Let's be honest. Many people will kind of feel like, I am where I am. That's it for me. And they'll just stop living. But you kind of
yes,
try to find ways. You pushed yourself. You were determined to find ways to learn
I
the things that
was.
you had to learn to continue living, not just to stop and, feel bad for yourself. Because there are a lot of people like that.
There's a lot of people that, I mean, when I was corporate, they put me out to pasture. They put me on long term disability,
Hmm.
so to speak, and retired me kind of when I was 41,
Right.
41. And so but I thought, and then I went out and within 4 months I had another company and uh, I started it and within about 3.5 years we were hitting 1 million a year and I just kept on
Right.
climbing. And then I sold it and sold the property and made some very good money and started another company.
Right.
So, I get bored with, I don't want to, it's like somebody that can make it to the Super Bowl staying on top all the time. That's hard to
Right.
do.
Right.
I enjoy the climb. I like to take on the problem, solve that problem because it makes you think. It keeps your mind going and you keep accomplishing, you keep helping people,
Right.
you know. So,
Right.
yeah, good point.
You mentioned building businesses. Do you feel that going through an accident, spending time in the hospital was like a turning point for you? Did you always have the drive, or it's something that you got after the accident, you kind of reconsider your life and you wanted to build more? Do you feel like you've been always
I always wanted to do something with my life, always
okay?
because of being on the farm and knowing and like I said, knowing that in the spring when you're prepping your fields and planting your seeds, and then you watch the corn grow from being in the ground and a little yellow seed that big to being
Right.
14 foot tall in the air or 12 foot tall, whatever. And you got to take it down. You have to, So I always thought I would continue on. And
Okay.
like I said, at 76, I'm very involved in a company. We're national. We just picked up 48 other countries. Uh, we just had a big demo in the UK for the British Special Operations. It's going well. I mean,
Right.
and other stuff I'm doing and helping, and I wrote the book. I authored a book, which I never thought I couldn't even write a 1 page note or letter in high school. I was terrible, you know.
Hmm.
So I didn't know. But and it is what it is just telling your story,
Right.
telling it because we all have a story. You've got a story about traveling. I mean, if you sit
Right.
down and wrote a book about the highlights, not everything, but
Right.
the highlights of London to Singapore to here to there, it's like why you like certain places and why you didn't
Right.
like, and there's a lot of people out there that would agree with you, but they
Right.
don't have the option to just leave Singapore or leave London or leave New
Right.
York or whatever. They're kind of stuck there, which is
Right.
what you're saying,
Yeah.
and they're stuck on their home block, and they're going to be there for their whole life. And you've been fortunate enough not to have that. I I'm like you. I did certain things along the way, and I might have been drifting, and I don't recognize it as
Right.
that, but it was always something accomplished. There was always
Right.
something that came out better. And because I think that's why we're here. I think that's why God's got us here. That's why you have life. God expects and He wants something for you to do. And I like helping people. I think the more people you help, the better person you become. I
Right.
think it's it's and if you stay busy, a lot of it's up to you as an individual. And so in my book, I say it's like, if it is to be, it is up to me. So
Right.
if I don't want to drift, to your point, what do I have to do to make that not happen?
Right.
I've got to find something. So
There are many people that are busy, but they're not achieving anything in life, because
I agree.
one of the drifting I feel like is that you feel kind of stuck. You are still moving, but you don't really have the purpose, or you don't really have the bigger picture, the bigger goal. And being busy is not always, being on the right track, or being on the path that you have to go. So I feel like that's one thing.
To your point, you just said, Patar, is that a lot of people, in my opinion, anyhow, or my observation from life, is they can't seem to move ahead unless they got somebody to compete against.
Right.
There's an old saying that, oh, you want to compete with the Joneses, the people that live
Mm-hmm.
next to you. You want a better
Right.
house. Oh, they got a new car. I got to get a new car. No, you don't. So I've never competed. I don't feel, anyhow, I don't think so. I've never competed against somebody else.
Right.
I compete against me. And it's like if I do something wrong and you're my boss or my supervisor and I'm working for you, you can be hard on me, but there's nothing you could do to be as hard on me as I
Right.
am on me.
Right.
I'm harder on me than anybody.
Right. And I think this is powerful because many times we look around us and we try to compare, but the person that you need to compare is yourself. I mean, are you better than yourself today than you were yesterday? And I think
Yes.
that's really powerful. And many people need to learn to look at themselves first. Yeah, you mentioned, I'm gonna read it. If it's to be, it's up to me. Did this come from at a moment in your life, or that saying is really powerful?
I pretty much felt like that since I was young.
Okay.
And feeding calves, young calves with a nipple bucket
Right.
where it's a bucket of pail with a nipple sticking out of it, and you feed them and stuff. And I knew that if I wanted to keep them alive and growing, I had to do it. I had to go down in
Right.
the basement when I was 5 years old and take a 10 quart bucket and put the powdered milk and whip it up with warm water and drag it through the snow or in the winter or drag it through the grass in the summer. lots of times to lots of calves to keep them growing. Because if they didn't get to eat, I mean, if you didn't get to eat, you get pretty hungry. And
Right.
so the same with them. And then I just think that I parlayed that throughout that, it's like when I was working at the little factory, agriculture factory, when I was in high school, I worked till 12:30 at night, but
Wow.
I did a lot of degreasing of tines that went on a pickup reel for a combine. But if I didn't get the tines degreased, they couldn't get painted. If they couldn't get painted, they couldn't get, attached to the equipment that they needed to go
Right.
in. So, but and if I didn't keep moving ahead through my surgeries and trying to rehab myself, it's just it's up to you to do it. It's kind
Right.
of like a driver's license. When you need a driver's license, or you got your license for the state you're in now, you had to go do it. I can't go
Right.
take your picture. I
Right.
can't go apply for you. I can't take your birth certificate. So it gets back to a thing for Patar. If it is to be, it's up to me. I got to
It's,
do it.
yeah.
So that's really it. But I had built some stuff before and some corporate stuff or bigger stuff. And, so much of it is it's up to me to go to the bank and ask the questions. It's up to
Right.
me um, to ask the concrete contractors, can you do this? Can you do that? And
Right.
what are your limits? What are your prices? Hey, I'll work with you this way. So that's just what you do is,
Right.
and you learn. So that's really, I don't know that there was any specific moment, but there again, in the hospitals, when I broke my neck, a lot of it, uh, I've always been an overachiever, Patar. So when I was going in physical therapy or occupational therapy,
Right.
I would work harder and longer and more because I thought, hey, they can help me some, but it's up to me to do it.
Right.
It's in my heart. It's in me. So if it is to be, it's up to me to get this thing done. I've got to do more, lift my arm more times, and
Right.
this is the only arm I got that works. This one kind of works a little bit. My hand and everything doesn't
Right.
work much.
But this is really powerful because I feel like I'm gonna repeat it again. If it's to be, it's up to me. So basically, you are the one responsible for your life, for your success, for your happiness. There's nobody that will come and save you. It's only
No.
you that you can create the opportunities. You can, create your design your life the way you want it to be.
And when you do something for yourself and by yourself, or maybe a community of people, or your a local group of people that you work with, but if you do it yourself, so to speak, and work on it yourself harder, and when you achieve that goal, or you've accomplished what you've set out to do, it's a lot sweeter, and you feel better about it because you've done it.
Right.
Somebody just didn't come in and give it to you.
What do you think somebody should do if they feel stuck right now? You gave a lot of good advices, you kind of share some good information, but if there's a person that feels stuck in life, is there something that you would advise?
I think it depends on where they're at physically and mentally, but a lot of it is you just got to get up and get going. A
Right.
lot of times the person that's having the problem that you're asking about, they just kind of sit around and they don't go out and attempt to do something to better themselves.
Right.
So you've got to want it first. You have to, when you want something, there's a difference between a want and need. If you want, you might want to live in a great big $20 million house, but you really don't need anything but a 1,000 square foot house with a bathroom and a bedroom and a kitchen and you don't need much. You don't, or
Right.
half that. If you have that desire, let's call it a desire to move ahead. But a lot of people that are stuck don't know if they have the desire. They don't have
Right.
any. And I think that's where you're coming from with your question. And if I had to speak to a group of people and 25 people or 50 people and they didn't know, not one of them knew what they wanted to do, what is it? What is it? What is something that you have done that you've enjoyed doing?
Right.
What is something that you would like to see built or accomplished?
Right.
You would like to see it. If this happened, it would make you feel better. Okay, well, why don't you maybe be that person that
Right.
makes it happen, or gets built?
Right.
So I think it would be a combination of talking with the person, finding out a little bit more about it. But on from your point and your side is from what you asked me is I would want to say, Patar, you've traveled quite a bit. What is it you've really liked the most about
Right.
it? What is it you've liked the least? What suggestions could you give other people that were going to go someplace? Maybe you'd say, don't go there at all,
Right.
and here's why. Okay. Or you definitely need to go to Bali or someplace and really
Right.
enjoy the beaches. I don't know. But it's like you could write a book about all your experiences and where you've been and what you've enjoyed. Because a lot of times it's not just going and doing it, it's making sure that the person is going to understand all the ramifications
Right.
of what that choice is going to be. I mean, I had a gentleman recently show me a picture where he's a Marine. I got out of the Marine Corps about 20 years ago, but married a gal in the Philippines, and he moved to the Philippines, and he lives in a moderate sized house, very inexpensive, and he lives on one of the outer islands. It's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. It's
Right.
amazing. But for me to go there in a wheelchair, I couldn't get around. And
Right.
I need to know that I've got some kind of decent medical facilities to go to because of all the damage I've had done to my body. Well, he can't do that, but it's like climbing stairs. You may have a beautiful house, but if you got 20 stairs, I can't get in it.
Right.
I can't, my wheelchair doesn't climb stairs.
Right.
So I think it's finding, finding what you would like to do, finding
Right.
something that people would really enjoy and what would make them feel good.
Right.
If I was to do anything for you, Mr. Smith, anything, whatever it is, take you somewhere, do something, have something, what would make you feel good or happy?
Right.
Okay, XYZ, I don't know. So why don't you work on that? And here's what I can do to help you or give you some direction.
Right.
I don't know if people go to the library anymore, but you can get online, go to YouTube. You can find anything on
Right.
YouTube and start watching and go, holy cow, that wasn't so hard. I didn't
Right.
realize you could, you know.
You
So
can do it.
I think that's what I'd start to do.
Right. And I think that you mentioned something really important is that people don't take a moment to stop and ask themselves, what do I really want?
Hmm.
Because I feel like that's the beginning, like asking yourself, what do I want from life? What do I want to do in the future? Uh, you know, and that's where it starts. And people keep going and they keep going and going, but no direction, no
No, no,
purpose, right?
right.
And that's where everything starts with a simple question.
And you kind of sometimes need to know. Years ago, I used to draw a circle on a whiteboard, and I put a dot here and I put a dot here. And this is New York, and this is Paris. And you're going to be on a ship going from New York to Paris.
Right.
Well, for 99.2% of that journey, you can't see New York or Paris.
Right.
You've got to have a goal.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
got to remember that the waves are shifting and the current is pushing you and the wind is blowing and you may run into storms, you may run into high waves, or you might have a calm sea. So
Right.
uh, for that, unless you know where you're going,
Yeah.
you have no direction.
Right.
And uh, and I think that knowing what you want, but knowing where you want to go
Right.
I just think having that goal once you've decided what you want. But you got to decide what you want and then break it down.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
a there's an old thing that it'd be real simple for a lot of people. There's an old thing, if you take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle, and I think they called it the Ben Franklin close, and it's a like a close technique in a sail. And on one side of the line, write down all the things you can think of that are good about what you want to do or that you can accomplish.
Right.
And on the other side of the line, write down all the bad things about what you want to do. And, going to cost a lot of money. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. Over here, it can make a lot of money. Okay.
Right.
Well, now, how are you going to, you know, or whatever the things are. But write down the good and write down the bad. You can do that when you buy something. Let's say
Right.
you want to buy a new vehicle. It's like, here's the pluses and here's the minuses. If you
Right.
can't pay cash for it, don't buy it. Number one, because
Right.
I don't care what kind of deal you get, you're going to pay a lot of interest, and there goes the deal. So it's
Right. But something powerful you say is that we don't always need to know how we're gonna get there because we don't know how the plane is gonna get from point A to point B, but we have our goal, we have our direction. So I feel like that's a really powerful message is that don't overthink it. Just decide what you want from life or what your direction is, and you get there. Don't overthink it because many people they want something, but then they waste time and thinking, how am I gonna get there? What is the, they start thinking and thinking, and then
Oh yeah,
nothing happens.
they
Nothing
kill
happens.
it. They kill the whole process. Like you said, overthinking it,
Right,
overreacting. It's like, well, just do what you need to do
right,
and do the important things.
right,
If you got time, you want to stop off here and visit a little bit. That's fine, but otherwise, get to your destination.
right. And I
So
feel like the moment you know what you want to achieve, that's when the motivation comes because it shows up. Like you know what you need to do, and then you kind of get that burst of motivation because you know the direction. So it keeps you going. All
I agree.
right. I want to do a quick round of this or that. No overthinking. Very, very quick.
Okay, well,
This
I'll do the best I can.
discipline or motivation?
Discipline,
Okay. Faith or logic?
logic,
Logic. Comfort or growth?
growth,
Excuses or ownership?
ownership,
Fear or action?
action,
Past or future?
future.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you so
I
much.
I want to mention a word you said was fear. I can't think what they call it, a synonym or something for fear. Okay, if one can be for the word fear, it can be fear everything and run,
Hmm.
or face everything and rise.
Okay.
So you can either get up and go, or it's like the word no. No
Right.
doesn't mean no. No is next opportunity.
Right.
Or the
Yeah.
word fail. Fail can stand for first attempt in learning.
Right.
So there's a lot of those little things like that. But yeah, that was good. I like that.
This is
I like pop you the answer.
powerful. I know this is going to
Yes, sir.
resonate with a lot of people, but tell our listeners where they can learn more about you.
Well, I've got a book. Matter of fact, I got it sitting here because I had somebody in here earlier, but this is just the paperback. But it's called "The Strength Within You," and the strength within you is really kind of shown by this tree that's well rooted, but it's been there for centuries, and it's bent in the wind, but it's not broken. And
Right.
that's the whole thing. So, but the book really talks about some of my medical issues, but it talks about what it takes to get through it. How do you get through? How do you build that resilience? How do you build the courage, the grit, the determination, perseverance to get through the adversities and the detours and the problems that you run into in life? That's really what it's about. It's simple
Right.
words. It's not a long read, but The Strength Within You, It's Always Too Soon to Quit. They can find that on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Um, I do get some notes sent to me, and I've got to get it in my book. But I've got a website, Never Quit Trying. Yeah, Never Quit Trying. And then I was thinking of my email. What's my email? I got my second or third email is Jay at Never Quit Trying. So yeah, it's always too soon to quit trying. That's
Right.
where it came from. So never quit trying.com.
That's awesome.
And they can leave
That's
me a
awesome.
note or ask a question or order the book or do something off of that. And
Perfect.
but I had a I make this. I got a note on my website uh, about a week and a half ago, roughly, and it was a lady that was 88, but she's about 88 and a half, and her husband died like 5 years ago, and she's not in the best of health apparently, but she didn't want to live to be 90. She said, you know, and she tells me this, but her son saw my book someplace. I don't know. It just came out in December. Actually, the printed version in the beginning of January. But he got it for his mother, and she said, I read it twice. And she said, I want you to know that after I've read that book twice, that I used to not want to live to be 90 because I lost my
Right.
husband. I've got some problems. But now I'm inspired because of everything that you've been through. I've started to think about my great grandchildren. I've started to think about that more. And now she says, I'm planning my 95th birthday party. That's a pretty powerful thing to go from maybe wanting to die in a year or a year and a half to planning a birthday party 6.5 years away.
Right. Yeah.
So, but it gives her a goal. It gives her something to see. And if she can see that party, getting back to
Right.
something that you mentioned, if she can see that party and the streamers hanging and I don't know, an old band playing and, you know, having pizza. I don't know.
Right.
But
It's the
anyhow,
mind. It's the mind. I think
it,
our
it,
mind is really powerful, and whatever we put into our mind is what we're gonna get. And
your
if
mind
you
is
want,
it's all powerful.
yeah, yeah, if you want
Yeah.
to live
Yeah.
until you're 95, you can do it. If you want to run a marathon, you can do it. It's what you put in the mind, into the mind.
Well, it's in there because you're going to do the things you need to do
Right.
to make it happen.
Yeah.
You're not going to eat chocolate and Twinkies and pizza 4 times a day. You're going to eat
Right.
the right foods and the right drinks and
Right.
or water or whatever, and so
Yeah.
but good enough. Good enough. Sounds great.
Thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. It was a really thoughtful conversation, and I'm sure a lot of people will learn a lot, and they will be interested to learn more about you and your story and your journey.
Well, thanks, Patar. It was you asked some interesting questions and observations, and I think there are a lot of people that they don't need as much help as they think they probably need, but they just need a little direction.
Right.
I think that's it's a little direction and people that care about them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
reach out and help somebody. That's
Right. We
so
we all need a direction. I feel like
uh,
at some point in our life we all need a little help and a direction.
little help, a little
Yeah.
little help. There's an old song about that. But well, thank you
Thanks
very
so
much, Patar.
thanks so much. Thank you for being part of the
Thank you.
show. Jay's story is a powerful reminder of something we all go through: drift, where life hits you hard, shift, when you decide to take control, and direction, when you choose to keep going no matter what. And the truth is, it's always too soon to quit. If this episode gave you something valuable, share it with someone who needs to hear this. And if you're ready to go from drift to direction, I'll see you in the next episode.